Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Having a few technical difficulties right off the bat here, but I am here today with my guest, Helen. How are you?
What's up? Hey, everybody.
How's it going over?
Oh,
You're on Mountain Time, right?
yeah. So I'm actually in Wyoming presently,
Oh, okay.
but I'll be in Arizona, back in Arizona in like 3 days. So I'm back and
Wow.
forth a lot.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
travel around, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you
That's
at?
incredible. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Woo. Way East Coast, huh?
Yeah, East Coast, East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I am super excited to talk to you today. I was looking through some of your resources and sites yesterday, and I was like, "Ooh, this is going to be one of those interviews where like I'm interviewing the person at the exact right time in my life because like
Mm-hmm.
I need what this person's going to teach." So,
Oh.
guess with that, like let's get into it.
Okay,
Tell
cool.
me a little bit about you. What you do?
Sure. All right. Well, to your audience, my name's Helen Edwards. I know there's a lot of us out there. So I'm actually an author of my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom. And I also do some coaching here and there. I say here and there because I'm not like a full on coach, but I do coaching. I'm the host of my own podcast, Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's in its third season. We also I like to say we because I always like have, help whatever I do. So I always have like a little
Yes.
entourage team that works with me. But I run all my own events. So I've done women's retreats. I also do yoga workshops and speaking events. So I've been public speaking for about 12 years and here I am, got an Etsy shop. I pretty much do it all, but whatever I feel called to do, I do it.
That's fantastic. I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like you're
It's a thing.
teaching people how to step out of these limiting beliefs and to step into
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said it
that's really
perfectly,
incredible.
for sure. Yeah. So, and I
Well,
like wine,
what's kind of your
so this
story
is
that got you
exciting to come
started?
on here. Story that got me
Yes, yes.
the story that got me started. So, I'll keep it simple, okay? Because it's actually pretty funny. Um, I was working three jobs. This is how everything started, okay? It started 12 years ago. I was working three jobs and I didn't know what to do with my life. And I read a book by Zig Ziglar, and it said something about giving back. And when you give back, you get, right. And even though I had three jobs, I considered myself at the time pretty broke, living paycheck to paycheck, kind of probably underneath paycheck to paycheck. I was spending most of my time going out partying, so I about
Hmm.
partied like 5, 6 times a week. And the days that I
Woo.
wasn't, I had my son. I mean, I was a hot mess, but I also had a fabulous life. I don't want to get it twisted because I know a lot of people say they partied and stuff and it wasn't fun. It was fun, but I didn't know what to get. I didn't know how to get back. I mean, I really wasn't good with money at that time, so I was like, okay, what can I get back? I'm gonna give back my energy, and I already partying away my energy, but I was like, okay, I could save some energy and give back to uh, helping people in shelters. What can I help them with? Well, at the time, I was barely getting started with my own self improvement, and I was learning a lot through these books because at the time I wasn't really going to workshops. I didn't uh, make an effort to save investments for that. So I was like, okay, I'm reading these books. I need to do whatever the book tells me to do, but I didn't want to do it alone. And I would basically felt like we had the same mindset, people in the shelter and me. I felt like I was broke, in poverty, even though I had three jobs. Um, and I had a really limited and lacking mindset, and a poor me mindset. So I was like, we're going to break through this together. So I initially went into a shelter to volunteer and bring in a speaker. That's where I saw myself bringing in a speaker. But I was really good at typing up stuff,
Mm-hmm.
creating like admin stuff. And I was a major introvert unless I drank. But what happened was the night before the whole thing took place, this whole workshop that I created and helped and figured out how to do, the speaker canceled. And there was this moment where I was like, I just spent all of my extra energy putting forth this idea for these, these people that are going to attend this workshop at this shelter. What do I do? I don't have a speaker. I don't know how to get a speaker last minute. And a friend of mine said, why don't you just do it? You know all the material. And I was like, I've never spoken in my life. Like, how do I do this? They said, well, get up there and just be yourself. So I went up there and I was shaking and I was, just feeling like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I walked up there and there was about a crowd of maybe 8 people. And I just said, this is what happened. And this is who I'm teaching you today. We're going to do this together. And sure enough, that's what led me into where I am today. I'm a public speaker and doing what I do, helping people.
Wow. So really just like a set of events that occurred that just pushed you right where you needed to be.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that, I think of the term, am I ready? I wasn't ready for it, but I stepped up to the plate. There's a lot of things we're not ready for. And I think that we get
Mm-hmm.
held up on the idea of, well, I need to be ready. Nope, you don't need to be.
No. Yeah. Well, where did the idea of hosting retreats and kind of creating this brand? You work on a podcast, you have a book, and you host retreats, and you have an Etsy shop. I checked that out too. I favorited it.
Yeah.
So how did you go from point A to point B?
All right. So I'm really competitive. Okay. And I have this when I go and I speak and I teach sometimes, I talk about comparing and competitiveness. Okay. Because you're going to do it, period. Everybody does it. Everybody compares and everybody competes. And the trick is to have a little small dosage of it. Okay. It's just like with everything. You got to have negative feelings so that way you appreciate the positive feelings. So, but you don't want to have too much of it or else it'll sink your boat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with the comparing and competitiveness or competing. I try to use those to my advantage. And when I get to like a goal, I'm like, okay, I now what's next? What's next for me? And I see somebody else who's done something and I'm like, okay, and I can hear me comparing, right? And the comparing that usually happens first is the self-doubter, the one that's like, oh, well, no, they did it because they had the resources and they're smarter than you and they probably got certificates in this area and they're this, that, and this, and that, and this, and that, and pretty much way better than you is the words I start hearing. So what I've done is I've trained myself to say,
Mm-hmm.
like, instead of the self-doubt overwhelming me, I can hear it is more of a, okay, they did these things, but you're just as competitive and you're just as good and you're gonna do it. You're gonna kick some major buco bank butt and you're gonna get up there and figure it out. So I get real like it almost the comparing, I allow that to feel my competitiveness to kind of just bring me out and up into that I can do this too. So then that's what gets me from A to B and then B to C and then C to D. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shift of mindset essentially, which
Yeah,
is
for
really
sure.
cool, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. Well,
I think,
talk to me. A big party for retreats that I love.
mhm.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, there's a little bit of a delay. So I was just going to mention,
A little
that
bit.
people do get stuck on comparing, and I think that there's this thing where they feel like they have to immediately stop comparing. And I've said it myself, comparison is the thief of joy. Yes, it is. But it also can be a fuel to fire up your competitive edge that we all have. I mean, it's a tribal mindset. It's a part of, our tools to help us get ahead of
Mm,
the tribe next to us. It's embedded in our DNA. And I think that there's things that we can use to our advantage. And that's definitely one of them if you choose to go that route, which I've chosen to, and it has helped major and beneficial for me.
yeah, definitely. That's incredible. And I think that's so important. It's like you can choose the safe route or you can choose what feels right. And for some people, what feels right is the safe route, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, what about spirituality?
Yeah. Okay. So that can often get spirituality is a big realm. First of all, because, people say I'm spiritual. Well, demons are spirits too. So, like, it depends,
Mm-hmm.
what
Yes,
spiritual
yes.
means to you. And honestly, here's the thing about spirit and ego that I've learned. Ego wants to defend itself. Okay. Spirit, you really don't have to. And if you find yourself always defending your spirituality, I mean, you got to kind of question yourself. Is that really spirit talking or working, or is it ego? And there's nothing, and I've got a theory on ego too, and I don't think it's all bad. But what I'm going to say about my spirituality, my personal relationship with my spirit, is that it's bigger than me, and it's going to come through, you know, it's going to it's going to come in all different signs and forms because it's everything and everyone, and it's all right. So I have this saying, like,
Mm-hmm.
if spirit wants to talk to you through the girl who's plastered drunk at the bar next to you, then spirit will. If spirit talks to you through, your worst enemy, it will. And if it's going to talk to you through your most loving and highest source of a healer, it will. If it's through a commercial, it will. And nobody can judge that. And the thing is we try to act like we know everything about spirit, but that's not the truth. Like, the truth is we don't know everything, and we're trying to figure it out, and it's beyond us. And that's the whole excitement of life, is trying to connect with it, and know that we already are it. It's so crazy. It's like a weird thing, but it's so cool. Yeah, girl.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think too. With spirituality, like a huge part of the retreats that you do they take place in nature, right?
hmm hmm Yeah. So most
So
of them.
I was
Yeah. Go ahead.
dealing with the lag there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if many of your retreats take place in nature, what do you think it is about nature that like helps people to connect to spirit and they then connect to themselves to make these self realizations that they need to make?
Well, I think that nature is the teacher because we are nature, and I think that I mean, people say it over and over again that we are so disconnected from it. And to be disconnected from nature is to be disconnected from ourselves, right? Because we are nature. So, um, I think that's why most of my retreats are done in nature. There's some that are done, the one I've got coming up in Arizona is done at a house, and it's just a mini retreat, it's just a day and a half, um, to really just get women together and really dive deep for a short time, because of the people don't have all the time in the world. So this is for a lot of people who don't have the time but definitely want whatever they're called to, but here's the thing
Mm-hmm.
about that. Maybe it's in a house, but again, we're nature. So if I bring the large part of the nature part of me, then they're connecting with me, they're connecting with nature, and then thus they're connecting with themselves, which is nature. Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about negative self talk. And I kind of want to talk about that when it comes to dreams. I'm kind of asking for a friend here, but if there's for somebody, let's say just like a random person, maybe her name is Rachel, who has big dreams about what she wants to do,
Mhm,
but they always are able to find a reason. Like this won't work because kind of like you were talking about, like this person has a certificate, so this is why this isn't going to work, or
mhm,
this is I'm going to put a pin in this thought right now. That's absolutely not a possibility. Like I've been
mhm,
working with a career coach for the past month, and she has to keep reminding me, like, Rachel, you need to stop thinking about why not and start thinking about
mhm.
what. Uh,
Right.
how do you encourage people to start thinking big and dreaming big without, having those limiting beliefs like just slithering into their brain?
Sure. So here's a different. First of all, I love all. I think every coach and every person out there that's doing some greatness for people is wonderful. We all have a different way of doing things, and it's needed because not all of us speak the same language, right? So what I do is I go
Mm-hmm.
and I teach something called protecting the throne, and basically it's like, we call ourselves king, queen, boss babe, all these cool labels. Um, but who protects the throne? The warriors protect the throne. The warriors are the ones that go out and do really all the work in protecting everything, or else what? The throne will fall, right?
Mm.
So, what's the throne? The mind, body, and the spirit. Many philosophers, many teachers, even Jesus said, the kingdom is within you, mind, body, spirit. Okay. So, if you're not protecting that, then you are self destructing, self sabotaging, self doubting, not just inwardly, but you're allowing other things to come in and persuade you as well. So what I do is and this is what I teach in my speaking engagements, in my workshops, my coaching, and also my retreats is nurturing your warrior. And it goes back to spirituality, and also it just
Mm.
goes back to ancestry work. Is we all of us have a long lineage of there's a warrior somewhere in our lineage, because there's a reason why we're here today, and some other bloodlines have died and gone and have not, they're not here today. So there's warriors out there that have fought for us to be here.
Oh.
And so for me, and the work that I do and the work that I inspire others or encourage others to do is really look at your lineage and also nurture your warrior. Because here's the thing, I could tell you to stop doing that all day long. And you're going to keep saying, okay, you're right. But you're telling somebody else they're right. You need to nurture yourself, build up your confidence. And your confidence is, you know, protecting it as well. You build, so it's like a king who builds a castle, but then you also are knocking it down. Okay, so you need somebody to stand guard. And who's going to stand guard more than yourself? You are. Your warrior is. So you got to
Mm-hmm.
do practices. You got to do them every day. It's like taking showers. It's like renewing your mind every day. And so one of the things I do is I mean, I have days. I'm a woman. My hormones fluctuate. There's some days when I'm just like a moody bitch, and I have to say, all right, it's okay, because I'm not here to hurt
Absolutely.
anybody. I'm allowing, these hormones to do what they need to do, because it's part of my makeup. It's part of my being who I am, the human part of me. But I also need to stand guard. Like, don't let it take me down, because again, it's part of the human experience to have these gray colors, but you can't keep it down forever. And it's nobody's job to keep your kingdom built and keep withstanding and keep growing. It's your job. It's part of it's basically, look at it like this. It's now your rite of passage to keep your warrior and your kingdom and your lineage going and passed on to the next. It's an
Mm.
honor. In other
I
words,
love that.
an honor is something that's
Yeah,
forgotten. So yeah, I try to bring it back to people, restore it.
that is so cool. And I would never have thought about that, focusing on honoring your ancestors and thinking about how far they got you because you wouldn't be
Yeah.
here without. That's really cool. I never
Oh
would have
yeah,
thought of that. That's really
for
awesome.
sure.
Um, well, I guess that kind of leads to like one of my questions about like how can you get unstuck if you
Mhm.
keep, getting unstuck in these beliefs. What are some tricks to help that warrior come out?
Sure.
I know
So
you do a lot of
stuck
work with
is
like
a
yoga.
yeah. So stuck, okay. Stuck is it's disempowering, okay? And the words even saying I'm stuck. Like, okay, first of all, I am is very powerful. So what I do again,
Mm-hmm.
think of a warrior first of all. What does a warrior do? A warrior trains hard, trains every day. All right? And that's how I try to have people think about it. And for myself, everything I talk about, I am about. I know it works for me, so I know it works for others. And if it doesn't work for you, there's
Mhm.
another coach out there or somebody
Mhm.
else that maybe has the language you're looking for. But for
Right.
me, I remember when I used to feel stuck. I remember going, "Oh my god, I feel stuck. I feel stuck." First of all, acknowledge it. You're stuck. It's like being stuck in mud. All right? But you can get out of it because I bet you anything, if you're stuck, you've been stuck before. And you've probably been stuck before that too, and before that as well. And if you got out of that stuck, you can get out of it again. And that's why it's so important when you train and you work every day so here's what I do. When I'm stuck or when I'm having a day where I'm just like fighting myself, like I have some major fights and
Mhm.
they drain me. I know what to do. I'll put on
Yep.
I'll put on some empowering music. I'll force myself to get up and dance because when you move your body, you start shaking that stuck off of you. Okay. So I try to do that. I try to
Mm.
work
Mhm.
out. If none of these things are working, I check my hormones. Hormones are, I'm kind of a little bit of a science nerd. And it's because I know that hormones can dictate your emotions. Okay. So I like to make sure and see where my hormones
Yes.
are. If you're not eating right, those can affect your hormones. If you're not sleeping good, if you're, putting more toxins in your body than alkaline and good things to nurture yourself. Um, those are going to make you stuck. Like what they say is what you eat, you feel, and you are. So again,
Mhm.
it comes back full circle to taking a shower every day. It's a practice. You have to practice every day. So if you want to get unstuck, start by acknowledging that you are and you're going to get out and that you're going to be even more fierce than you were before. And it's your job to get yourself out of it. And music, I have a playlist that I've put together for when I'm stuck. I've got about 5 of them.
Ooh.
One that's high tempo, one that's low tempo. And what my low tempo is, it's called reflection, and it's so that way it can send me in a trance of remembering the times I was stuck before and I was able to get out. Another one is all meditation. I have a letting go meditation. I have a let go of that shit meditation. You know, I've got
Mhm.
meditations that work for me. And then another one I have is it's called motivation. It's just motivation, like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, so I kind of just see what works for me and I'll keep changing them. And then sometimes I just need complete silence and I just need to be stuck for like a quick second.
Mhm.
And I just need to tell myself,
Yeah.
compassion, like you're going through it, you're going through it, baby girl, and I need to just let you know, like, you need to go through it, but you're not going to go through it forever. Like I'll give you one day, maybe a day out of my life, that's it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. I think that's really important and really valuable to be able to have that compassion to stay present. It's okay to live in those feelings for a little bit. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to wallow for a little bit. I always tell my boyfriend, he's
Yeah.
always like you just like you just need to feel for a while. I'm like, I really do. And once I'm done
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
for like 20 minutes, I'm ready to come back and like have a plan. So
Yeah, for sure. And
sometimes you just gotta wallow, and that's okay too.
communicating it is really, I'm glad you did that you communicated to him that that's what you need, because you know what you need. And I told my boyfriend the same thing. I'm like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
it's not at you, this has nothing to do with you, I'm just going through it, but I just want you to know I have
Yep.
more ups than downs. My downs are like this, but my ups are like this, and that's where you want to eventually be at.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, that's awesome, and I think that's really beautiful too. The focus on remaining present, and being compassionate as we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, how do we stay present then? Let's move on to some little like tricks.
Presence is it's a tricky thing, okay, because I mean, we live in the past a lot, we live in the future a lot, and staying
Yeah.
present is really, it's, I feel like that's more of a personal practice because if you really think, if you want to get philosophical about it, we're really not present much. I mean, I think talking to people, like when I'm here
No.
with you right now, I'm listening to you, right? But even that, if I didn't tell you, how would you know I'm listening to you? I could just be catching, I could be an autopilot, and that happens with people. And
Mhm.
I'm interested in this conversation with you. I'm interested in who you are. So I'm telling myself, be present, be listen and learn. Maybe there's a learning experience here for me. Um, so that is an ability to stay present. If you gift yourself the idea that you could learn something in the present moment, because we already know we learn from the past and we know that we're about
Mm.
to learn something in our future, but what's maybe there's a gift in the present
Mhm.
moment. So that can help you stay present. Meditation, people talk about all the time. Being silent, staying, going outside. I love going to watch sunrises and sunsets, and those, I can't
Mm.
tell you enough. If you don't do it, like do it at least a few times a week, they'll definitely bring you to the present moment because they're captivating. So those are a few things you can do. Take a bath,
That's
take a bubble
amazing.
bath. Present. It's amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you just really hit on something interesting too. Um, I am someone who like never really is able to stay in the present. I really struggle with it.
Mm,
I think that's one of the reasons I like doing this podcast so much is because I'm so
yeah.
focused on learning. I'm focused on like really fixating all of my energy on the person that I'm talking to. And I think maybe
Mm.
that's why I feel a little bit of like a high after I've recorded,
It
just
doesn't
because
feel
I
great.
really have managed to stay present for like maybe the only
Hmm.
time all day. That's really neat. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
even put that together.
Yeah. Sex too. Sex is
Very
uh
cool.
I have a thing where I love when your eyes are open. If our eyes are open and we're connected with, whoever your partner is at that time. Um and if they're
Mm-hmm.
you when your eyes are open, you really are present. It's a weird thing and it's hard for people to do. So I remember when I used to not do that, and then I started kind of kind of forcing myself to like keep your eyes open and really like, look at what's
Yeah, a
happening. Like
practice.
this is amazing actually. And the more I did it, the more I realized
It's
now
magic.
it is magic. It's a magical experience if your eyes are open having sex.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask is your site is called your site says nothing is sexier than freedom. And
Hmm.
this podcast is about self-love and it's about sex and relationships and really the most important relationship that you have is the one with yourself. But
Hmm.
how can being your free and most authentic self lead to better relationships and better sex? Like, well, while we're here.
Yeah, so this is a great question because the book title Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, I took a poll while I was working uh, at a corporate job, and I worked with tons of women, at least like 50 women. And I took a poll on what my book should be called. And I had all these different names, at least 15 of them. And everybody voted on Nothing Sexier Than Freedom. And I think oftentimes,
Hmm.
my website's called Sexy Freedom. My business is called Sexy Freedom, DBA Sexy Freedom Media. And I think there's this idea that it's about sex. The name sexy for me, or the word sexy for me, it came to me at a time when I was writing my book and I opened up about how I didn't feel sexy. I was in a relationship that with somebody who wouldn't touch me, and for many years. And I
Mm,
started
I've been
developing
there.
this self consciousness of, am I ugly? Am I not good enough? Am I not desirable? Like, and then I found that he was watching porn of, these beautiful, attractive women. And I just completely compared myself. Like, I don't look like them, I'm not their color. And, I started really self sabotaging myself. And I went from this extremely confident woman to like immediately just becoming a hidden, unhappy, self sabotaging, self destructive woman again. And I remember, the transition out of that was through my book and telling myself and being truthful that I'm not going to allow this relationship to bring me down and I will get out of it. And I did. And I stuck with the word sexy because it was one of my 5 words. I went to a workshop during my self work, and one of the workshops was, what are the 5 feelings you want to feel the most in life? And at that time, being honest with myself was saying I
Mm,
want to feel sexy. It was scary to me, and people
mm-hmm.
often looked at me like, you're beautiful and you're thin and you're curvy and oh my god, you look exotic, but they didn't know that I felt like so ugly inside. So sexy
Right.
became this word that I stepped into. And I was like, I do want to feel sexy and I want to own it and I want to feel good, not having to compare myself. So, um, and it comes with the relationship. The relationship I'm in now is, I'm so happy and it's so healthy and I feel so alive and so sexy. Not because he makes me feel that way, but because I know I'm sexy now and I bring it, and
Yes.
confidence is so powerful. It's so powerful, but it definitely has to come and be birthed from within, and it's got to be nurtured. And it's got to be like, it's like a little fire and you got to flame it. And you got to throw your little incense and, whatever on top and make it grow and
Mm-hmm.
sprout and just, it's powerful. So yeah, work on it. Do it because it's worth it.
Yeah. No, it really is. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel like I went on a kind of similar journey.
Hmm.
And the feeling that it is when you are able to cultivate it within yourself is really powerful.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And sometimes, we're not there. There's women I've met that they're not there, and that's okay because you're gonna get there. Because if you want it, you will get it. You got to just flame
Yes.
that desire. And I think that's a thing about comparing, and
Yes.
sometimes what gets us stuck, especially as women, we can be catty. We can say we're all about empowerment, but then we can, kind of throw shade. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why it comes back to what I teach is protecting your throne, because as much as I believe in empowerment and raising each other up, I also know that I come first. I come first now. I'm not putting anybody above me, because if I'm going to be the queen of my throne, I've got to put my throne first, and then I can help others. So,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah, girl.
Yes. I always say
Cheers to that.
you have to fill up your teacup. Yes, there you go.
Yep, cheers.
Cheers. I guess let me see. So, when it comes to comparing ourselves to others, social media, how is it bad and how can we turn it from something where we're comparing ourselves constantly to these highly curated, Instagram feeds? How can we turn
Mhm.
it into something to make us more confident? You were saying that you teach people to use comparing themselves as a motivator, as something to like make them more competitive. So in social media, how
Mhm.
do you do that with social media? A lot of people say like, oh, just unfollow all of the people that like make you feel bad. And
Mhm.
that's an option, but like what kind of advice do you have like when it comes to social media and comparing and
So, first of all, there's a couple different ways to look at social media, all right? It's an extension of you, all right? And whether that's in a personal aspect or business, it's up to you. But here's the way I view it. And this is just something I wrote about in my book. The way I've kind of viewed life is it's a game, all right? So, social media is, and have you ever played chess or checkers?
yes.
Okay. So, I was raised playing those games, and especially chess. Maybe that's where the idea of the queen came. I don't know, but I love chess. I
Right.
taught my son to play it, and that's the way I've kind of looked at life. So when there's a show that came out called The Queen's Gambit, and when that came out, It was so weird because
Mhm.
how she was kind of seeing the board game on everywhere she saw. I was like, that's so weird. That's kind of how I feel like, you know, the way I see life. I'm always looking at it like, okay, this is their move, this is your move, this is their move, this is your move. And I think it all ties together in everything that I kind of teach and believe in. Uh, when it comes to social media, I look at it like it's a game. It's my personal video game. And, you know, I don't I don't like you have the ability to move it around and switch it around. So if there's something that you get caught on, like a picture, and you find yourself going down a rabbit hole, that again, it comes back to you and your courage and your strength to shut it down and shift your
Mhm.
energy towards what's going to build your throne up, you know? So there's beautiful people out there, period. It is what it is, you know, and we don't know if they're really like look like that in person. And again, we don't even know if they're somebody
Right.
who's hurting inside. So I sometimes try to see beyond that person. Like, I wonder if they're in a really unhappy relationship right now. I wonder if they're hurting. I wonder if they just went through a death. I wonder if they're on drugs. I wonder if they're extremely happy and they really are out there using their platform to help others. Like, I don't know, but that's what I wonder. So then I shift my energy and I look at it like, what can I do? If this is how they're doing it, can I mimic that and help my business grow? Can I mimic it up to a
Mm,
certain
mhm.
point, but then throw my own flair into it and make it mine? So I really view it like, this is your move. What's your next move? How are you going to do it? I make the move, and then, I see what happens. It's kind of like if you fish, throwing a fish in the water. Does it bite? Is it biting? No. Bring it back, put a different thing on there, throw it in, you know? So I use it to my advantage. And
Yeah.
again, if you find yourself down a rabbit hole, like you said, you can just unfollow people, okay? But I noticed there's a lot of people do get overwhelmed by it. They get, they make it official and put out a post, and I'm getting off social media for a while. And great. That's great. I'm
Yeah.
good. You go do you, boo. But for me, I'm a warrior. I'm at the front lines of my life, and I'm here to rage in the cage, okay? So was I always that way? No, I wasn't. I used to be the type that was very intimidated and felt like all these social media gurus were going to outdo me. And I'm not getting enough likes and I'm not getting enough this. And then I powerhoused it one day and I was like, no, you rise, you rise. The next day, you rise, you rise, you become stronger, you become faster.
Mhm.
And now I'm growing little by little by little. And there's no doubt in my mind, unless I die, that I'm not going to be somebody to reckon with. So you got to
I love
build
that
your
confidence.
confidence and warrior up.
Yeah. No, and that's just such the amount of trust that you have in yourself. How long do you think it took for you to reckon with like these feelings of like doubt and fear and these like negative voices? Like, I mean, obviously it's something that we're always working with, right? Like life is a cycle. You're
Hmm.
never, it's not like a book where, you hit the climax and then everything's fine,
Yeah.
right? Like you're always going to be working with these feelings.
Hmm.
But what did that process like look like for you as you were working through it? How long did it take?
It took a it took a journey because it goes up and down like this. Okay. And
Yep.
when I became complacent, I really felt like I'm called for something bigger because, well, first of all, I opened the door. Once you open the door, that's it. You're in. Uh, and
Yep.
you're going to be used as a vessel. You're going to be used as a vessel. And you get to a point where you realize it's beyond you. And grief was one of my biggest teachers. Um, and grief held on to me, and it still holds on to me, not as much, not as bad. When I went through my only divorce, and the courts, handed my son over to his dad. And as a mother, kind of
Mm,
not being there for her child is devastating. I mean, it's devastating for any parent, to be honest, not just a mother, but it's devastating, and it's shameful, and you go through these
mm-hmm.
feelings. And it could be for anything. It could be, relationships, heartbreaks, feeling angry inside from some trauma that maybe happened to you. But it kind of reminded me
Mm-hmm.
to, I had all this anger, and the anger can be used for destruction, or it can be used for, saying, F that, I'm going to be, just watch, I'm going to beat this. And that's what I used it for. I used my anger to, again, feel my sword, basically sharpen my sword to become a better me. And then when I got complacent about it and I thought everything was great, grief hit me again. My brother, who was exactly like me, same tenacity, same fire, same excitement. Everybody loved him, unexpectedly took his life 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember, 2017.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
you know, and I remember thinking, like, okay, what the hell? That life can be gone any minute for anybody, including me. What am I going to do with it today? There's yesterday, there were a lot of people that were here, a lot of kids, a lot of beautiful people. Today, they never woke up, you know? And that's a hard reality because it could have been us. So I try to keep that in the back of my mind. And I think there's this race against time for me to live out my best life. I don't know why, and I don't know why it's so powerful and so um, convicting in me, but it's been since I was a kid. And it really pushes me forward because I want somebody to remember me. I want to do good in this world. And and I think that's probably my biggest fuel to my fire, is knowing that I'm on a race against time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do it now.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's great advice, and I'm so sorry for your loss. That's devastating. Um, and I can see how a moment like that would make you go, all right, like what do I have to offer the world? And then,
Mhm.
put it forth.
Yeah, all of
Yeah,
us.
that's really
You
cool.
know what you're doing with your podcast is you're shining your light, and you're using your createdness for the source of good. But you're going to be called to do more because you've opened the door. You're going to grow. You can't
Right.
stay complacent. You can't stay where you're at because it's got to flower. That's the way spirit works. That's the way movement works. It keeps growing.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. I feel that already. I had to work through years of self-talk to even put out an
Hmm.
episode. But now that I'm here, I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, like here we go. We started, we can't stop now. So, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I
Yep.
want to know what inspires you.
What inspires me? I think I pretty much said it. The TikTok, not TikTok, the app, but the time race against time inspires me for
Yes.
sure. Gosh, I
Yeah.
get inspired sometimes. So no, I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to do it back in the day when I felt stuck. Actually, I would force myself to watch videos of inspirational stories and people less fortunate or special needs,
Mm.
or people that had, third world countries or didn't have arms and legs, because I wanted to be reminded of how fortunate I was. So I'd force myself to search out those things. And then I traveled to those places too. I mean, I went to Rwanda, I've been to Greece, Egypt, and I wanted to see what real poverty looked like. I wanted to see what real third world countries were like. I wanted to immerse myself into them, not just see videos and pictures. Like, what does it feel like to be next to a 3-year-old who's begging for food and I can't even help them? And those are the things that I've
Mhm.
seen them firsthand, and I can't get those images out of my head. And I think that's why I'm like, I realize that there are, you know women, men, kids, especially kids who are suffering and they shouldn't be, especially our kids, you know what I mean? And they are, and they're suffering because our adults aren't doing their freaking job by being adults. They're not adulting. They're complaining about being adulting. Adulting is a superpower. We have abilities
Right.
that kids don't have. And so they're suffering for no reason. And I think that's why I'm always saying, like, we shouldn't be fighting with one another. Your light, my light. It doesn't matter how big, an Instagram model's light is. It doesn't matter how big, a coach or podcaster's light is and how many followers they got. We're lights. We're shining for one specific goal, and that's so that way we can help, other people not suffer and have a happier journey through this life. So that's what inspires me, is to keep going for them until I'm gone. And then enjoy my own life while I'm doing
Yeah,
it.
I think that's a great answer.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so helping people too. I think that's one of my biggest driving forces as well. I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
So I guess one more question before I like have you start, kind of talking about what you do and where people can find you. But if there was one message or one thing that you wanted the world to know, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. One thing I wanted people to know. Uh, one thing. um. Okay. I think it would be. I think it would be. Just if your life ends tomorrow, today's what you got. You better live your best goddamn life you can right now, because we could punch out any moment. I
Hmm.
think that would be it, because I've had experiences where I've talked to somebody and then the next week they were gone, and it's mind-blowing, you
Yeah.
know so you just never know. And I want people to know, like, you shouldn't take life for granted. I'll tell you that right now. Don't think you're gonna be here forever, because you ain't.
No.
So have the best goddamn life you can right now, and
Yeah.
don't apologize for it.
I love that. I think that encompasses a lot of the other, advice that you offered as well.
Yeah. 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 Super
So
rad.
kind of. Well, where can people find you? You have a ton of resources. Like, where can people find you? Where can they sign up to work with you? Buy your stuff on Etsy. Just go ahead and throw it all out. Find your book.
Yeah, so I'll make it simple. My book's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Nobles, online, and my Etsy shop. You can get signed copies. But here's where you want to find everything: sexyfreedom.com. I've got 2 retreats coming up, one in California, that's a full immersion, means overnight, and then one in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, this coming weekend. So it's super affordable, super valuable. If you want to dive more into your health and wealth mindset, that's the place to be. So yeah, sexyfreedom.com. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Well, yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time here. I feel like I learned a lot again. I feel like this is one of those gifts that the universe sent me, was this conversation
Mm,
just when I needed it. So, yeah, thank you for
yeah.
being here today.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. By the way, Wine Dine, or was it Wine Dine in 69? That's such a rad podcast name. I was like, dang, why
Yeah.
didn't I think of that? That's so cool. No, it's super legit. I love it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, yeah, no, I want I want people to, be interested for the name and stay for the conversations that I have. So,
I love that. That's a great catch line. You better write that down if you don't have it written down already.
definitely.
That's awesome.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Wine Dine in 69. I am your host, Rachel Dalton, and let's keep talking.